We did it. We hit our goal. All thanks to you. So this week I'm going to give a thank you to the contributors from this immediate past week, who are the people who brought the total up to the goal. But of course, in this video, I very much want to thank everybody who supported this project. So thank you all. It's incredible to have this support and to be able to do our filming this summer, which is the next step in the process of making the film. If you happen to see my name in the list of contributors, I swear I did not juice the results. A couple of people sent me checks and I deposited that and then made the contribution on their behalf. And I couldn't put their name in, so it shows my name. So please ignore that. Before I thank individual contributors, I want to thank my mother, actually, not only for loving me my whole life, thank you for that especially, but also for being a really great support on this campaign. My mom appears in the film, and as you may know, people who are in the film are not eligible to support financially, but my mother found other ways to help. She suggested that I design a little brochure or a flyer, and she printed it, and then she drove all around Toronto and Guelph and so forth, leaving these flyers about the crowdfunding campaign for Dresden 1957. So thank you, Mom. And my mom had help with this. Her friend Rinske Salverda also drove around delivering flyers to different Dutch shops. So thank you very much, Rinske. Rinske, by the way, who did contribute earlier, is the author of a book called Dance, My Rich Life on a Small Budget, which is a lovely autobiography describing her life growing up in Holland and then as an adult, actually in the 80s, coming with children to Canada. So it's another Dutch immigrant story beautifully told in this little book. And this is really the beauty of crowdfunding, a kind of mutual accountability in the sense of support. It's really like a team. We're all kind of supporting. We've each kind of stuck our neck out a little bit, each in our own way, and together we're kind of committing to this project. And I think that's really powerful. So a special thank you always to those people who are newer to this, who I don't personally know. Thank you. And I'll start off with Joanne J. Thank you very much for your contribution, Joanne. Libby Palmer. Thank you, Libby. And then Anonymous J. McI. Thank you very much, Anonymous J. Gail Littlejohn. Thank you so much, Gail. And then Keystone Bridge Management Corp., which is actually Harold Kleivecht's company. Thank you for that second contribution, Harold. Much appreciated. We had a really generous contribution from Anonymous AT, and I want to thank you very much, AT, for your contribution. Also, Renee Kuipers, Herman and Roalie, thank you very much. Rebecca Martin, and thank you, Cheryl Henning, twice. Cheryl contributed twice, so thank you so much, Cheryl. Really appreciate it. And then a contribution from Carla and Clarence Knapp. Thank you very much. And a generous contribution also from Jane and Brian Wright. And also from Anonymous AG. Thank you, AG. Thank you, Jane and Brian. Then we had a fun one from anonymous contributor LG, who calculated we were just shy of hitting our goal. And LG calculated we needed $286, and that's what she gave. Thank you so much, LG, and I appreciate that and love the attention to detail. Thank you to Bill Nichols, to Joshua Fox, and thank you to anonymous contributors ZK and anonymous contributor PVK. Thank you very much. Now, we also had some contributions from family members related to the people in the film. So thank you, Mike and Ainsley Hovius. Thank you to an anonymous ST who's married to somebody who had contributed earlier and is related to the Hovius family, I believe. Thank you, ST. And then confusingly, another ST who's also anonymous and also related to the Hovius family. The first one is a man. The second one is a woman, if that helps. I hope you know who you are. But thank you very much for your contributions, ST and ST. And finally, thank you, Tina Okama, for your contribution. Tina's husband, Harry, was the one survivor of the cave-in in Dresden. Because he lived locally, he was also a Dutch immigrant, and he lived locally, and he was 19 years old. So when his mom called him home for dinner, he went. And that's actually what saved his life. So thank you, Tina, for contributing. And thank you, Harry, of course, for appearing in the film as one of the people we interviewed. Now I'm going to thank people related to my time as a teacher or as a student. First, thank you to Carol Lewis, a parent of one of my students. That student also contributed, so anonymously though. Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you to Suzanne Perez Miller, one of my best friends in grade 12 in high school, who I always persuaded her after our soccer practice or lacrosse practice. She'd always say she had to go home, and I always persuaded her, Suzanne, please drive me home. So she drove me home, and then we'd sit in the driveway yakking and yakking. Anyway, great memories, and thank you very much, Suzanne, for your contribution. Thank you to Anonymous RI, and thank you for sharing your memories. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you to Linda McKee, very generous contribution, a parent at the Toronto Waldorf School where I used to teach. And then thank you for a second contribution to Bob Pickering and Patty Wolf. Really appreciate that, Bob and Patty. Thank you so much. You've been very generous. And then a final anonymous LP. This is the parent of someone that I went to school with when I was a kid and has made a contribution. Thank you so much, LP. Finally, or not finally, moving on. These are contributors who I worked with post-teaching. First of all, thank you, Nishita Kumar, a really wonderful colleague at Adobe. Thank you, Nishita. Thank you to Wes Plate, who used to work at Adobe, then I think went to Apple, and is an extreme runner. Like Wes runs races like 100 kilometers or longer. And when I first started at Adobe, I was actually taking the spot that Wes used to hold. I really appreciate your support, Wes. Thank you so much. And your friendship all these years. Thank you. Thank you to Tim Kurkowski, another great Adobe colleague. To Stefan Grunwedel, also a great Adobe colleague. Thank you, Stefan. And then to Anonymous EE. Now, he may be choosing to be anonymous, but I'm just going to say it. His first name is the same as my first name. Do the math. This anonymous contributor happens to look like me too, like 10 years younger or 15 years younger or something, a younger, very good looking version of me. And in conference calls, if I saw him, I might have for a fleeting second think I'm looking at myself, and probably for a fleeting second thinking, wow, I'm looking pretty good today. No, it was actually anonymous colleague EE who I was seeing on the screen. Thank you also to other colleagues related to the Adobe work. Alex McLeod is a consultant on post-production workflows, sports events where he kind of helps set up the workflow. So thank you very much, Alex. Really appreciate your contribution. And then Barbara Marshall, counterpart colleague at HP. And so when I was doing partner work with Adobe, I would interact with Barbara and the other people at HP. And I really appreciate the contribution, Barbara. Thank you so much. And then I'll move on to earlier in my career when I worked up north for the Ministry of Natural Resources. Two of my colleagues from then contributed. Colin Boyd, thank you, Colin, really appreciate it. And Duncan Hablum, thank you very much, Duncan. In fact, I will see you, Duncan, in a few hours when we have a gathering of friends from Kiosk. And then finally, my business coach, Robert Powell, has contributed. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate it. And I hope that that you think your work with me has, yielded results and you're seeing good things in this project we're working on right now. Thank you, Robert. Then I'm going to go to family and friends. My uncle, Frank Willem Krohn, who has the record for the most individual contributions made throughout this campaign. Thank you so much, Frank Willem. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Anonymous JV. And thank you also to Peter, who I think is Peter Tyler. Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate that. And then thank you to Anonymous JB, but I'm just going to say that this JB is part of the Bosch family, my American family. Thank you very much, JB. And also Tina Bosch, also part of the same family. In fact, every Bosch has contributed. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you so much. And then finally, Mary Willow. And Mary is actually Joe Crawford's mom. And this is also Mary's second contribution. So big thank you, Mary. Really appreciate that. So that's all the contributors from the final week. And they, combined with all the other contributors, have brought us to reaching our goal And I'm very grateful for this support. Thank you. So what's next? It's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. I've already booked flights for Nova Scotia for Joe and myself. We will interview Anne Van Aragon, who's the author of the book Uprooted. Uprooted is an incredible account of the child's experience of emigrating from Holland to Canada in the 1950s. It wasn't an easy ride for those families, and Anne's got a tremendous perspective on that, both from her own experience, but also by interviewing hundreds of other people and pulling those stories together in that book. We're also working now, interviewing and looking at cinematographers. We've got some great shots of interviews now, but we want to get beautiful landscapes and really capture the magic and beauty of southwestern Ontario. And that's why we're looking for a cinematographer that we'll hire to work with us this summer. Finally, it's also time to get into research, back into research, I should say. This will be especially focused on newspapers. I'm really grateful to have the help of Sarah Taylor. And this will involve actually searching through microfiche. So I want to make a shout out in case anybody would like to volunteer. If anyone else wants to help us, it's going into libraries and scrolling patiently through hours and hours of microfiche of newspaper articles. There are hundreds and hundreds of articles. We've scratched the surface barely of what's out there. We'll use these articles to reconstruct those documents which we haven't found and may never find, like the police report or the trial records. Another way people can help, we'll be looking for items from the 1950s, boots and shoes and clothing and tools. And we'll use these to do very simple recreations. Having a few items from the 1950s would be very helpful. If you have something that you could lend to us, please let me know. And it may be a car or a couple of cars or a truck from the 1950s. Finally, there are people who have expressed an interest in financial support, but who missed the deadline for this crowdfunding campaign. There will probably be another crowdfunder or something like it. So please leave your name on our website or follow the project on Seed and Spark. Either of those ways, you can get in touch with me. I'll make sure that you're aware when we have another opportunity to do fundraising. So I want to thank all of the contributors so far and all the supporters and everybody who's shared kind and encouraging words. Thank you, everyone. It's incredible. Thank you.